Have you ever seen everyone completely paralyzed with fear in the face of a gigantic problem and thought deep down, if no one has the courage to face it, I'll have to go? David was just a scrawny shepherd boy when he unexpectedly arrived at the Israelite military camp and discovered a Philistine giant named Goliath shouting humiliating challenges every day for exactly 40 consecutive days. 1 Samuel 17, 4-11. Goliath measured an impressive 2.5 meters in height, wore a full armor of polished bronze weighing dozens of kilos, and carried a colossal spear whose iron tip looked like a tree trunk cut from a giant loom. The entire mighty army of Israel, made up of hardened warriors, trembled uncontrollably at the mere sound of that terrifying, deep voice. Even King Saul, famous for his extraordinary height and superhuman strength, remained terrified and without a solution. Absolutely no one dared to challenge the invincible Philistine. Psychologically, this phenomenon perfectly reveals the mechanism of collective fear that instantly paralyzes us when we focus exclusively on such an overwhelming threat. Every soldier desperately fixed his eyes only on the colossal height, the deadly weapons, the bloody combat experience, and completely forgot the existence of God, infinitely greater than any human creation. Spiritually, David had meticulously learned from his solitary days herding sheep in an isolated field that God faithfully defends and protects those who place absolute trust and a sincere heart in Him. In his daily life, giant Goliaths constantly manifest themselves in disguised situations: monstrous accumulated debt sucking up monthly salary, a devastating medical diagnosis leaving the entire family in silent panic, an authoritarian, tyrannical boss impossible to please, turning each workday into an exhausting emotional battle. David accomplished something truly revolutionary. Instead of precisely measuring the problem, he faithfully measured God. A fundamental question remains: when a colossal giant looms directly before you, threatening to swallow everything you've built your entire life, do you instinctively run and hide, or do you choose to radically trust God? David made the courageous decision to trust fully. You will discover in the following minutes exactly how a simple boy carrying stones to a river defeated a feared warrior of that era before the astonished eyes of entire nations. The epic confrontation between David and Goliath revealed itself to be infinitely more than a mere contest of brute physical strength. Psychologically, young, he faced overwhelming pressure from the entire army, tirelessly repeating, "Too small, impossible." Saul attempted to equip him with full royal armor, a gleaming bronze helmet, a heavy, impenetrable breastplate, and a sharp, long sword, but David immediately realized it was completely hindering him. 1 Samuel 17, 37-39. He responded with wisdom matured beyond years. "I know perfectly well how to protect sheep using only sling stones. God will empower me to do the same against giants." Contemporary life directly translates to using what one perfectly masters instead of imitating strategies that belong to completely different contexts. Finally, you will understand why specifically 5 stones instead of 1, a choice that hides a profound, revealing strategy. David appeared on the battlefield carrying only fresh, nutritious food for his brothers serving as soldiers in the Israelite army. At that exact moment, Goliath shouted again, issuing a definitive, humiliating challenge. "Send a man to fight me personally. If you win, you will make them all your servants forever. If I win, you will make them all my slaves." 1 Samuel 17, 8-11. Experienced warriors, hardened by endless battles, saw only the colossal size of the enemy and its gleaming, intimidating armor. David saw radically differently, directly questioning, who, this uncircumcised Philistine, defies the armies of the living God? 1 Samuel 17, 26. Psychologically, everyone desperately calculated David's exact height, weight, heavy weapons, years of experience in bloody combat. David mentally relived occasions when God had delivered him from ferocious lions and ravenous bears attacking precious sheep. He didn't see an invincible monster. He saw an ordinary human being openly defying infinite divine power. Spiritually, God had meticulously prepared David through solitary shepherding, an intensive course, and a decisive national confrontation. Current reality, gigantic problems suddenly arise. Does the focus solely on their overwhelming size, or does it faithfully revive what was prodigiously accomplished previously? Personal giants manifest identically: monstrous accumulated debt sucking up monthly salary, chronic family conflict impossible to resolve diplomatically, an authoritarian, tyrannical work environment. David categorically demonstrated unwavering confidence that God transforms seemingly impossible scenarios into surprisingly simple victories. The entire Israelite army watched in awe as the shepherd boy declared fearless courage. Would you dare to utter courageous words before the paralyzed crowd, or would you prudently remain silent? Development 2 answers this. King Saul summoned David, who generously offered him full royal armor, an ornate, gleaming bronze helmet, a heavy, impenetrable breastplate, and a sharp, long sword. But David immediately realized it was completely hindering him. 1 Samuel 17, 38-39. He responded with wisdom matured beyond years. I know perfectly well how to protect sheep using only sling stones. God will empower me to do the same against giants.
Psychologically, pure and absolute wisdom. David immediately understood that he would conquer what he perfectly mastered, not impressive appearances. A light, precise foundation is the fruit of years of tireless training tending sheep. Spiritually, God is pleased to use the gifts He has personally given him instead of living by imitating the completely different styles of others. In everyday practice, many people today wear uncomfortable and incompatible armor. They accept positions of status even though they genuinely hate the activity. They speak artificially in a difficult way to appear spiritually elevated. They buy ostentatious things to impress superficially, and they feel a corrosive emptiness inside. David categorically teaches that authenticity and faith work infinitely better without genuine God. Goliath laughed scornfully, seeing the boy's insignificant staff and sling. He called David a despicable little dog. David fearlessly replied, "Thou shalt come against me sword and spear, but I will come against you in the name of the Lord of hosts." 1 Samuel 17:45. Why then specifically 5 stones? Development 3 reveals the secret of the giant's downfall. David ran swiftly toward the giant's deep sword, skillfully wielding his experienced hand. He selected the perfect stone, threw it with surgical precision, and struck Goliath exactly in the forehead between impenetrable layers of metal. 1 Samuel 17:49. The colossal giant collapsed face down on the ground like a centuries-old tree brutally felled. David, with his own sword, decisively ended the battle. 1 Samuel 17:50-51. The Philistine army, believing itself invincible, panicked completely and fled in disarray. The paralyzed people of Israel gained instant courage and launched a victorious offensive. Psychologically, the domino effect of contagious victory. A person facing fear immediately releases collective courage around them. Spiritually, the scene demonstrates God systematically uses the seemingly weak to confound the proudly strong. Everyday life falls apart. Debt miraculously paid off, medical treatment surprisingly effective, a difficult conversation resolved peacefully. loved ones deeply impacted. Someone observes and thinks hopefully, God did it through him, surely he will do it through me too. David carried a giant's head, a visible and irrefutable proof that God is greater than any conceivable threat. 1 Samuel 17:54. Today, personal trophies manifest themselves, a contract signed that seemed absolutely impossible, an exam result miraculously favorable, a testimony of a relationship completely restored. How does a simple stone change the history of an entire nation? Reflection answers this profoundly. David categorically demonstrates absolute confidence that God overcomes any insanely large problem. 1 Samuel 17:37. Psychologically, every fear faced is permanently registered in the brain, absolutely possible. This subsequently makes one stronger and more resilient for the next inevitable challenge. Spiritually, God deliberately selects ordinary, simple people like David to unequivocally make it clear that true heroes are sovereign figures in history. Everyday personal giants manifest themselves, paralyzing fear of public speaking, suffocating monthly financial burdens, endless exhausting domestic conflicts, deep invisible insecurities that no one genuinely perceives. David's secret consisted of a faithful historical gaze towards God in his personal life. Lions and bears constituted minor tests in preparation for the national giant. Courage is the absence of fear, the decision to act correctly precisely while feeling intense fear. David's refusal of Saul's armor reminds us that God desires us to use authentic personal talents, not to copy others. 1 Samuel 17:38-40. Psychologically, self-knowledge provides unshakable emotional stability. Spiritually, each skill developed, speaking empathetically, listening patiently, serving humbly, organizing efficiently, creating originally, is a specific tool in a predestined battle. What personal sling do you currently have in your hands? Does God bring down personal giants? The stone piercing Goliath's forehead demonstrates God transforms desperately impossible scenarios when we execute part of what we trust to complete. 1 Samuel 17:49-50. Meticulous planning, immediate obedience, and courageous action find perfect divine providence. Every giant felled today prepares for greater responsibilities tomorrow, as inevitably happened to David on his path to the eternal throne. History has impacted your personal reality. Take 3 actions immediately. Comment specifically below, "My giant," name of specific problem. Without excessive intimate details, just a profound identification. Step by step, courage also helps us pray collectively specifically for you. Subscribe to the channel and religiously activate the bell icon for the next revelation, 5 stones David takes to overcome giants. 5 practical attitudes to face any adversity, intelligent faith, and proven emotional balance. Immediately share this with someone close to you facing a similar battle. Collective testimony multiplies the impact exponentially. David, an insignificant shepherd boy whom nobody took seriously, irreversibly changed the history of Israel by deciding to trust God completely on the day of the decisive battle. Perfection, fame, strength, human eyes are not necessary. Only one thing is necessary: to place oneself in God's right hands. In conclusion, profoundly,
Courage plus absolute faith in God transform the impossible into tangible testimony and a glorious tomorrow. Grace and peace abound.